This is gonna be one of those videos again where we do a bit of the silly. Here's a group of Steel Path Exo officers getting absolutely destroyed by toxic fart clouds from the Coda Sporothrix, which is what we're gonna be talking about today. Some of the simulacrum footage may also exhibit excessive lag due to the numbers being so silly, in fact, that the game briefly turned into a CPU benchmark. Like, the GPU wait times were spiking up to 3 to 5 milliseconds at times, which is all nerd stuff. I mean, if you know what that means, then you know what that means. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. The Coda Sporothrix can be an epic crowd control weapon that's also really fun to use once you understand how the different parts here that I've chosen work together and get the hang of it. Of course, some of the builds that will be shown here are not exactly perfect, like Harrow having both primed vigor and precision intensify on isn't exactly optimal, but I didn't feel a particular lack in any aspect when testing against Steel Path enemies, so I just decided that this was good enough for the purposes of this video. With that said, I'll probably make some changes here and there for next time. I also want to mention that I got a Sporothrix Riven from Tenno. She just has all these Rivens I can borrow. It's so neat. Friends with Riven benefits, let's go! However, I got caught up trying to improve the fart cloud's damage output, so much so that I forgot to actually include the Riven in the build. I mean, I kinda want to roll the thing too, but I shouldn't. I mean, 125 rolls, damn. I'll see if I can think of something to do with this for future content. Right, a summary for those who don't know, the Sporothrix is an infested sniper that shoots explosive barbs. By default, these barbs embed themselves into enemies before exploding after a short delay. That's what this weapon's about. It's got pretty high damage and status from the get-go. It's also got an innate plus 50% headshot damage bonus on zooming, and both the initial hit and explosions apply status separately, which already tells you which direction the build is going to be heading in. I will say it did feel like the way this weapon was designed, that there's incentives for you to go for a crit build of some sort, but the abysmal crit chance does present a pretty big roadblock. Thankfully, unlike real life, this is Warframe, where you can fix most problems, especially these days with stuff like Helminth and Archon shards and whatnot. Flat crit chance bonuses, meaning the ones that add on top of your final crit chance after mods and such, are what you're looking for if you want to boost the Sporothrix's crit chance up to a usable and even ridiculously high level. Some examples: Harrow's Covenant ability gives you plus 200% on headshots. Crystallize from Citrine? Well, shooting those crystal growths will net you a plus 300% crit chance, which is insane, but I'm also a bit bothered that it doesn't exactly mesh well with the zoom headshot bonus, as the weak points and headshots are entirely separate things in this case. Still, a very viable alternative if you love using Citrine. There are other sources that I've decided to not focus on for this video that still work fine, like the crit buff from Adarza, though that's not as reliable. There's also Arcane Avenger, and then Sevagoth's Shadow Haze, I believe. Plenty of ways you could go about building for the Sporothrix. As for the Sporothrix build itself, here's what it looks like. Now, please allow me to explain the general idea of how I went about this so the parts and mods start making sense. Originally, this Coda Sporothrix had an electric valence bonus, which I thought of changing to cold for synergy with the primary Frostbite Arcane. Aside from freezing enemies solid at max stack, the cold status effect also increases critical damage dealt. Since both the initial hit and explosions could deal their own instance of status, and with this weapon already having a pretty high base status chance, I wanted to see how high I could boost the critical damage stat and combo that with Harrow's Covenant to deal some real proper damage, with a bit of slash and gas DOT thrown into the mix. So I then went ahead and bought the Valence Vice for 50k standing, and eventually settled with this build you see here. Volatile variant is crucial as it modifies the Sporothrix's unique characteristic by adding punch through to the barbs, which also explode on hit now, and the radius of said explosions also receive a substantial increase, which will help us with stacking as many of those cold procs as quickly as possible. You could swap out magnetic capacity here for anything else that you feel would be better for your own setup. Also depends on the element you got for your valence bonus. The Coda Sporothrix can have ammo issues I found, and I think the magazine size was improved in the most recent hotfix. Vigilante Supplies basically solves that problem, so it's not much of an issue. Rifle Elementalist, on the other hand, is here because I want the toxic fart clouds to hurt. A lot. Finally, Magus Anomaly on the Drifter/Operator will help out with grouping enemies together if you don't already have other methods like Warframe abilities, etc. Sorry for the interruption, guys. Yeah, ads suck, especially on YouTube, but how about a helpful recommendation? I bet you all buy your games on Steam, which is great, but what if there's a way to get those games and some free stuff on the side? Well, all you gotta do is just buy them on GreenMan Gaming, where even if you get something at full price, you'll still receive benefits in the form of XP, which is part of their loyalty program. All the Steam keys sold here are also sourced directly from the publishers, so no middlemen or scammy nonsense. I've also found that sometimes there's better deals here than on even Steam. Not to mention that a portion of any money spent on GreenMan Gaming does go towards ecosystem restoration initiatives, which is pretty cool to see. It's kinda nice to know that your dollar would go further than just ending up in some OnlyFans Thoughts bathtub. So the next time you're thinking about buying games, it's probably worth checking out GreenMan Gaming through the links in the description. Even just clicking on them to see what's on sale today does help out the channel a lot. So yeah, feel free to whitelist and save those links, save yourself some money, and get gaming today. So here's a demonstration. The idea is to first ensure a crit chance bonus of some sort is active before grouping the enemies close together, in this case with the help of Magus Anomaly, so that they're all within range of the barb explosion radius. Take a couple steps back and then shoot one in the head until one of them pops, and then voila! A new war crime has been committed. But wait, you're telling me to group enemies within melee range in order to take them all down with a sniper? You know, a weapon typically not used for melee combat? Yes, it sounds crazy, like something that won't work, but it is actually fun when you get used to it. It's not that hard. Going back to the build, I did try out stuff like Primed Firestorm, which seemed like a good idea at first, as I wanted to increase the spreading radius of gas, but the difference with it on and off is like this. Not really worth the mod slot, so going the Magus Anomaly route is better in my opinion. I also tried to get primary acuity to work along with the rest of the setup, but I couldn't really get it to a level where I was happy with. For now, at least. I ran a few Hell Scrub missions in the Steel Path mode for testing, and the Coda Sporothrix paired with Harrow performed great, and was also genuinely fun to use. I also tried a survival run in the Entrade labs, and it was still good, though headshots were of course harder to locate and land to maintain lasting covenant, as the enemies there kinda have unconventional weak points. Crotch shots, sure. Headshots, not so much. Feel free to leave comments down below, I'll get to as many as is feasible. Be sure to also check out the links in the description, those do help out a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day.